everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of Beyond Broke and Hungry. We are so excited to share everything that we have coming up. I am one of your hosts, Ellen Hogan.
And I'm the other host, Dara Sweatt. We are so excited to finally launch and share with you some of the inspiring and insightful interviews we had with a variety of wellness experts when I was up in Nashville about a month ago, visiting Ellen and kicking this off.
As creatives, we know how hard it is to maintain balance when we're on that great hustle, juggling a million different things. And the goal of this podcast is to move past that and get beyond broke and hungry to the point of just slaying the game and being super successful and hitting those goals.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Ellen, you want to go ahead and go first?
Sure. So I'm originally from the suburbs of Detroit, and I grew up singing. Just my voice has always been my instrument. I was in band for about a quarter in 5th grade, and then I was like, nope, and just went back to choir. So I have been singing since before I could talk, is what my mom tells me, at least. I went to Hillsdale College in Michigan, which was about 2 hours from where I'm from, and I studied music with a minor in business. Really wanted to go into the music industry, and I had been doing worship for years, leading worship at my church. So I was always really familiar with that and had been performing on stage and just really comfortable on stage ever since I was a little kid. And so when I went to college, I was a vocal performance major and moved down to Nashville right after I graduated. And I had a couple of different internships that were in everything from, I did publishing internships, which is working with songwriters. And then I did a couple jobs in music management. And then I was a touring musician for a little while, which is how I met Dara, which we will get to in a little bit. But I was the lead singer of a pop rock band called Sunset East. Look us up if you so desire. It was fun. It was fun. We had a great time. But the band broke up early in 2019. And so when that happened, I just knew that I really wanted to go into management. And so did a couple of management jobs and then wound up at Big Machine working in A&R. So I'm now on the record label side.
A boss ass bitch.
So Dara, your turn. Tell us about the crazy mermaid lady.
Oh, crazy mermaid. Wow, you flatter me. So yeah, I just like Ellen, kind of been singing since I can remember. That was always a huge passion for me. I grew up I was born in Fort Lauderdale, and then I grew up in Palm Coast. Went to Catholic school my whole life, so being in the choir was kind of a requirement. Sorry, I'm really cheesy. Anyway, so I sang in the choir, really loved it. Grew up playing sports. My mom was very much pearls and diamonds was what she was kind of hoping for with her children, and with me, she ended up with pearls and rock and roll. Just really found a love for music very early on, but also had that sports background. So I grew up playing tennis and soccer, and would train and for hours and hours, and did competitions for tennis on the weekends and stuff. So I always grew up with kind of having that athletic structure in my life. I went to the University of Florida. Well, first I went to FAU down in Boca Raton for 2 years and got my AA because I didn't get into UF right out of high school. And it was the only college I applied for. So once I saw an email from FAU that was like, hey, apply now, we'll waive your application fee. I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to go to college, so I'll go there. Really enjoyed it. Was in a sorority, met some really great people. My big in my sorority is actually still one of my best friends to this day. Transferred up to UF, got my bachelor's in telecommunications news media. So I originally went to school to be a TV reporter. I pretty much wanted to be like the next main morning show host, and ended up taking some radio courses and fell in love with radio. I always had loved music and listened to the morning show in my hometown. At UF, it was like you either did sports or you did news, and I wasn't really that interested in either of them. So I created my own thing, called myself the Radio Mermaid, did a series of podcast episodes, about probably 8 to 10, I believe. Just did them weekly, my junior year of college, interviewed a couple of different bands, whether they were local or kind of national. One of the bigger names is Carney Wilson. She was one of the Wilson Phillips singers. I also interviewed Willie Nelson's harmonica player, which I thought that was pretty cool. And then right after college, I actually was working for the university for about 8 months. And then I was like, when all my friends graduated, I was like, why the hell am I still in Gainesville? And so I took the first job that brought me to Jacksonville. So I kind of a little bit all over the place, was an entrepreneur for a while. And now I work for a company called Locology, and I do their social media. It's a lot of fun. We have different conferences. I'll actually be in San Antonio for a week in March coming up for our Locology 2020 conference, which is a combination of brands, media, tech, and agencies coming together and networking, and it's going to be a blast. I met Ellen, oh God, what is it now, 2 years ago?
Not quite. I think it was about a year and a half.
A year and a half ago. Wow, our friendship.
I feel like I've known you forever.
I feel like it too. But seriously though, like, okay, I met Ellen by a total chance. Was not gonna go out with my girlfriends, ended up going out, and at this bar I see this band I hadn't seen before. Jacksonville's a pretty fun city with really good musicians. I think it has potential to be like the Nashville of the South, if you ask me. There's a lot of really cool bands that come through here, a lot of local musicians that are awesome. I happen to be one of them. Whatever, it's fine. Facebook.com/DaraSweattMusic. But no, I saw Ellen up there and I heard her sing, and really, I mean, the band was cool, but her energy was just captivating. I mean, the way that she was like dancing on the stage, singing her heart out. She was freaking 10 feet tall, beautiful. Like, I was like, oh my God, this band is awesome. They're so epic. And I was not going to leave my business card. I was like, no, like that. I don't want to be like, whatever. I'm nobody. Like, I don't want to leave my business card. And my friend Heather was like, Dara, drop your freaking card in the bucket with like $2, whatever, for the band tip. And I'm sure they'll contact you. And I'm like, whatever.
Comes out to about 40 cents a piece. Nice hefty tip.
You're welcome. That's your tax on the sandwich you probably bought the next day. But yeah, probably not even a week later, Kyle, the drummer at the time of the band, gave me a call, set up an interview with them with the radio station I was working at, and did a phone interview with them leading up to their first single getting released and their EP getting released, and then just kind of kept in touch with them a little bit. The next time they were down in St. Augustine, I got to actually hang out and meet them in person, have an in-person interview with them at the station. And Ellen and I just like clicked right away. And even when we talked on the phone, like I was like, this girl seems really cool, but she's probably too cool to be my friend. Little did we know that I'm actually the cooler one and Ellen is a derp. But
she is not wrong. I am, by definition, a derp. Does derp have a definition? Probably not, but if it does, it's me.
It does. It's Ellen Hogan. It's fine. No, but we really just clicked and became friends and stayed in touch. And then I went up to CMA Fest and hung out with her a few times. And she even came down for my 26th birthday celebration in Key West and met 6 of my friends she had never met before. Just came by herself, was like, hell yeah, Key West trip, I'm in. And I came down and met some some of my closest girlfriends. And it was just one of those moments for me where I was like, you kind of look around and you see the people that are around you, and you realize that the people that you're closest to are reflections of yourselves. And every single one of those women that were on that trip with me are amazing and powerful and strong and creative and just beautiful. And it was just very insightful for me to see that. And the fact that Ellen and I had just met and only hung out a small handful of times, and that she was able to vibe with like my best friends and just kind of flow was really awesome. And then, I had, since college, I had really been wanting to start up another podcast again. I kept going back and forth on what. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I loved music, and so I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna start something. And I knew Ellen had some connections, so I was like, hey, girl, I know that you've got some bands up there in Nashville. You think you can hook me up with some interviews? I want to start another podcast. And she was like, what? You want to do what now? And I think I remember our conversation. You were literally like, so what do you want this podcast to be about? And I was like, I don't know.
So Dara calls me and she's like, I want to start a podcast. What? Like, just kind of calling for tips and just, a nice friend chat and all that stuff. And I was like, about what? I'm like, I've been wanting to start a podcast too. I've been thinking about that for a while. And she said, I don't really know what I want it to be about. I just really know I want to do one. So it could just be, the Dara Sweatt podcast. We'll see. And I was like, false. You and I are doing a podcast, and it's going to be about wellness in like the music industry and other creative industries, because you and I are both super passionate about that and pretty knowledgeable about it. And let's see where it takes us. So that's kind of how Beyond Broke and Hungry started, just by Dara making a nice friendly call. And I was like, false, this is what we're doing instead.
Yeah. And we had already planned on me coming up to Nashville for a week anyways, because with my current job, I work from home. So I was just going to come up to Nashville, hang out for the week, do some work. Ellen was going to, work while I was working too. And we were just going to chill. And we were like, hey, why don't we make this week the week that we just reach out to a bunch of people and get a crap ton of interviews done and get this podcast rolling. And we really lucked out. I feel like the interviews that we set up were just really great. And like Ellen said, we were both already really passionate about balance and wellness in our lives. I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, when I was 15. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's not super severe. It can be if you don't regulate it or pay attention to it, but it's basically an endocrine disease. And my body doesn't really know what to do with food. Like I could eat lettuce for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it would immediately be like, I don't know what to do, fat. So very hard for me to lose weight. I have to be on a good plan. And, I have gone through my phases in college where I would go on these healthy kicks and then I would go on these absolutely not healthy kicks. And it's really just been trial and error. This journey that I've been on the last 5-6 years. I happen to be in a really good place in my wellness journey. Ellen had already kind of been on a good route herself. So we were like, hey, let's make this a thing and combine our passions of wellness, balance, and personal development and music, of course.
Yeah. So Dara, a couple questions. What do you really geek out about as far as wellness?
So honestly, the personal development part of wellness is my favorite, meaning affirmations and gratitude and organization and reading. I love to read. I love to listen to podcasts that are uplifting, that kind of give you a reality check sometimes. Depression runs in my family, and I can very easily get inside my head and convince myself that I'm not worthy of something. And by working on my personal development, it has really just changed my life around. And I think that is where it all starts, because, you can have the game plan step by step how to have an awesome body or how to have, a great life and everything else. But if you're not doing it, if you're not changing your mindset about things, it's not going to get accomplished. And for me personally, everybody's different, but for me personally, it had to start in my head before it could really start to go anywhere else. What's your favorite part?
So my favorite part is probably just food and learning about nutrition and seeing what foods make my body really happy and learning about intuitive eating and all of that stuff. Cause I have never been a dieter. I've always thought that they were really unhealthy. And so I just have really delved into what being healthy means and how I can really fuel my body, because I was raised in a house that we ate really well. We didn't eat crazy healthy. We weren't an organic family. My lunch at school was a PB&J, some chips, a Little Debbie type of dessert, and like a Capri Sun and a piece of fruit. Growing up, my mom used to always put sugar on our strawberries, and I don't understand why, because strawberries are already pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. But as a kid, I wouldn't eat strawberries unless they were like literally coated in sugar.
Hey, that just makes it, I guess I wouldn't say it makes it taste better, but it definitely adds, it adds some flair for sure.
But anyway, so I was raised eating kind of healthy. I got into cooking. I would say I got into baking first, which was bad because that just meant me eating a lot of cookies. Luckily, growing up, I had a decently fast metabolism. But that being said, I ate way too much junk food, as most high schoolers do. And then I went to college, kind of did a little bit of the same, but slowly settled into what nutrition looks like, and how to eat healthy without being miserable. I don't like salads. I realize I love vegetables. I love them. I just hate salads. I don't like them raw. And so I will do like this really good, healthy cream sauce pasta with like a ton of veggies in it and some chicken. I just got really into cooking and trying new recipes and just kind of getting creative. And so that's definitely my favorite part of wellness, just because guys, your girl just loves food. It just is what it is.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Nutrition is definitely a big part of it too. I don't want to cook every single day, but I do love to cook, and I love to meal prep and kind of have everything ready to go. But it's fun to experiment with different recipes and new foods and collecting that data on how your body feels when you eat what you eat.
Speaking of, Dara is a literal psychopath when it comes to meal prepping, and I am one of those people. I will just go to the grocery store, I will see what's in season, and I something delicious. And Dara had so much anxiety when we were at the grocery store. We're walking through all of it. She's like, I can't do this. We have to make a plan.
Dude, so when I meal prep, I write down Monday through Friday, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, dessert, maybe, like depending on like what kind of nutrition challenge I'm on. But I just, and Ellen's like, let's just frolic through the grocery store. And I'm like, where's my list? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know what my routine's going to be when we're in here. Yeah, no, I'm super, super anal when it comes to it, because otherwise I feel like I just buy a bunch of unnecessary crap. But Ellen is just gifted, and she can go into the grocery store and make her decisions on the fly and have the things that she needs. I'm just not one of those people.
I'm like, hey, if I have some sort of grain or pasta, and then if I have a bunch of veggies and I have something I can make a good sauce out of and like a kind of protein, it's going to be delicious.
Well, and that's the thing about like everybody's wellness journey is it's everybody's going to be different. Everybody's got, you're really good at going on the fly and kind of figuring it out. I have to write things down. It has to, because that's just how it stays organized. And that goes back to a personal development thing, because that for me, I have to compartmentalize everything. Because if I go into the grocery store, I mean, I'm sure if I ate the same things, most of the time, it might be different. But there's just, first of all, I don't want to overspend. So it's nice to have a plan. So that way, it keeps the budget low, and I don't accidentally buy more than I'm supposed to. It just, personally, it's just my thing.
What's so funny is that you and I are so similar in so many ways and polar opposites in some ways. Dara, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to wellness?
As where I stand right now, one of my strengths is with personal development and organization, which means meal prepping and affirming to myself every single day who I am and what I'm going to accomplish every day. Practicing gratitude because I have so much to be thankful for, and sticking to that routine. That has been something that I've been really working on, and very proud of myself because it has been happening. I have my 3 daily non-negotiables, and I hit those every single day, whether I hit them right in the morning, which I prefer to do. But, sometimes life gets busy and hectic and crazy, but I still have those things okay, I have 15 minutes to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. Let me just do that really quick so it's done. I have 30 minutes that I can read my personal development book or listen to a personal development podcast. I'm going to do that because it's important. And that's where I feel the strongest and right now.
So what about your weaknesses? What's the hardest for you to...
I have no weaknesses.
Oh, shut up.
I'm just kidding. My weaknesses are with nutrition. I don't like to say that statement out loud because then it affirms it, but I am an emotional eater. I will take out things in my life on food, on my body, to the point where this is not something that I have actually publicly spoken about, but when I was in high school, I was bulimic. I would eat until I felt sick. I would make myself throw up. I would drink a bunch of water. I would make myself throw up again. I would wait a couple hours, and then I would eat again, depending on, on that day and that mood. And it didn't happen all the time, but it happened enough where I started to realize it was a problem. And that is something that I have really, it's a choice to eat the way that I was eating and hurt my body the way that I was hurting it. And I will literally go sometimes and I'll get in that mode and I will have to be like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. I have to literally talk myself out of it. And that's definitely been a weakness for me. It's something that I am slowly but surely overcoming. But that's been hard. And when it comes to having a workout routine and stuff, I've been in the gym. I would go to the gym at least 2-3 times a week for the last 3.5, 4 years. Or if I wasn't at the gym, I would run. But I wasn't. My weakness with that was not staying consistent. And the last probably 7 months of this journey, I think it really has an attribution to my personal development. But that routine has been consistent, and I've been loving it. So I would definitely say that my weaknesses are still. Are sort of with nutrition. I will have a great game plan and meal prep and do everything right. But I still have my days sometimes where I revert back to my emotional eating. That's all part of the journey and all part of overcoming things. And I am getting better every day, and I've come a long way. So what about you, Ellen? What are your strengths and weaknesses?
Mine are actually pretty similar. Weakness wise, I have always struggled with emotional eating. I have gotten a lot better though. If I'm not really stressed out or really upset about something, then I tend to be decent with, keeping track of my portions and not eating too much. I'm a snacker. My coworkers always make fun of me for it because everyone else will just have lunch. But me, I like the second I start eating for the day, I am on a 2-hour timer. So the second that I start eating, I need to eat again in 2 hours or I'm going to be dying of starvation. So I try to save my breakfast for as long as I can. And so I'll eat breakfast at like 10, have lunch at like 12:30. But what I do is I have a lot of really small portions throughout the day. To try to keep myself going without binging too much. And so for the most part, I usually don't keep that stuff in my house because I find that helps me where if I really want sweets, I will go out and get them and I won't punish myself for it because, if your body is really craving it, then that's okay. But if you have them in your house, you're way more likely to grab them. I had a bunch of girls over on Sunday and we had like a tea party and some girls time and it was awesome. And
Ellen's the kind of person that has tea parties.
everyone loved it, Dara. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure. I actually was jealous that I wasn't invited. It's fine. Like, I wouldn't throw a tea party, but I would go to one. 100%.
I actually threw it, which means that I ended up with all of the leftovers.
That's the perk of throwing a get together.
So it means that there were a lot of cookies left, and that's how I justified it. But yeah, so I think one of my other like biggest weaknesses is probably staying consistent with my workouts. What I have done within the last probably 6 months is I've gotten into yoga and I really learned a lot about like flexibility and mindfulness in yoga that I really, really enjoy. And so for a while there, I was just doing yoga on Wednesdays and Sundays and then walking throughout the week. But I recently had found that I just wasn't getting my heart rate up quite as much as I should be, especially with, just wanting to make sure I don't have any heart problems, all that kind of stuff, just to keep myself healthy. So I started going to the Y and picked up boxing. Growing up, I was never much of an athlete. I was never incredibly coordinated. I'm really tall, but I was always kind of gangly. And so I swam and I danced, but I was never great at any like volleyball or basketball or anything that people thought I should be great at. So those are the only sports that I really did. And I quit both of them when I was 15 so that I could focus more on music and leading worship at church and doing some other after school music type programs. So I was never super athletic the way that Dara was growing up.
Yeah, it was forced. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I loved the fact that like I played all these sports and, had these trainers and stuff because it definitely instilled that drive and that work. So yeah, the strengths and weaknesses of balance, man. But that's the beauty of having these weaknesses, so to speak, is it's not a weakness. It's just something to pay more attention to and to focus a little bit more on, because you can always overcome something, especially if you affirm it and you put your mind to it and you make it a priority. But I'm really proud of you for joining the Y. I know you've been talking about that for a little bit, and especially doing boxing. Boxing workouts were introduced to me when I was in college, and it showed me how much I love getting my ass handed to me.
It's so funny because I've only just started in the past couple of weeks, and my first night, my arms were shaking so bad that I was just typing a text to a friend and I couldn't even get my thumbs to function. My arms were shaking so badly. But yeah, a weakness is something that just means you have to focus on it more, like Dara was mentioning. And so for me, if I know that I tend towards emotional eating, just not having stuff in my house and just being like, okay, well, I'll have a piece of fruit or I'll have a smoothie or I'll do peanut butter and honey on toast or banana with peanut butter or something. It helps. And there are always different ways that you can work around it. And it's just a way to focus on what you know is kind of a problem area for you that you can just give a little more attention to and get better at.
Yeah, I love those moments where I overcome it, because there was definitely, a moment where I was about to go dive into some Trader Joe's graham crackers, because those are so good. And I opened the box, I put my hand inside the box, and I just was like, no, like this, if I start eating these, I know what's going to happen because of how I feel right now. And I need to not do that. And I walked away from it, and then grabbed an apple, sliced it up, and put some almond butter on it, and was satisfied, full, and then I didn't feel guilty after eating it. And that's the thing, is like when binges happen, you feel so guilty, and then not only does it go from something physical that you're kind of damaging yourself on, it goes to a mental damage as well, because then you start to beat up on yourself because you did this, and then because you feel like crap on the inside, your brain is like, well, I must be crap because I feel like crap. And it's just it's a vicious cycle. So it's just, it's going to happen. And yes, definitely treat yourself. But it's those times when, like, that you're feeling like, I'm kind of feeling a little wanky emotionally right now. Let me be disciplined and overcome this emotional feeling by making not even the healthier choice, by making a different choice, by making a choice that is going to fill me in a positive way as opposed to fill me in a negative way, because I know what's going to happen if I do this, and I don't want to feel that way about myself, because that's not who I am. We're going to go ahead and get into the series of questions that were kind of the theme of this first season of Beyond Broke and Hungry. We asked everybody that we interviewed, so we're going to ask them to each other. Ellen, what does self-care mean to you?
This is a little bit different than what you would probably hear if you watch a lot of self-care videos on YouTube or listen to podcasts about it. I honestly don't think self-care is taking bubble baths and painting your nails and doing a face mask, and having a night in. Like, all of that is great, but you have to know what works for you. So in my case, that means doing a few things in the morning and a few things at night that really keep me grounded. One of those, for example, is like reading my Bible and really making sure that my head is tied in with my heart, and that I am really focused on the most important things and my real values. And so I feel like self-care looks like trying to find exactly what is the most important thing to you. And that also includes reaching out to family and like making time for your friends. Because for me, especially as I'm a pretty extroverted person, I tend to recharge with the people around me. And if I really surround myself with people who are encouraging and bringing out the best in me, then that in and of itself is self-care, even though it's not just done by me being by myself, taking a bath with a face mask on. As much as I love that too.
Right.
What about you?
No, I love that too. And that used to be my definition of self-care. Like, I was like, oh, I'll just have a glass of wine and put on a bubble bath and, do a face mask and paint my nails, and I'll feel so much better. And yes, those things make me feel better, but those make you feel better though once a month or once every other week that you do it. It's not something that you don't take a bubble bath and paint your nails every single day. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, if you live that life, like if you're maybe Mariah Carey, like, good for you, but that's not the life I live. So, and I'll bet I got time for that. But self-care for me is my affirmations and gratitude. When I first started doing the affirmations, I felt so silly. I was like, I wrote them down, and then I said my 5 affirmations to myself out loud every single day. And I felt very silly doing it at first. And it was probably, but I was like, you know what? I know that this is going to help me. And, so I did it. I did it every single day. I still do it every single day. And it was probably like 2 months maybe that I actually started to see them within myself. And I'm not talking like I am a millionaire and I am a whatever. I'm talking like I'm strong. I am beautiful. I am respected. I am loved. I am in control of my emotions. Those are literally the 5 things I say to myself every single day. And when I started to see those things resonate in my life, when I looked in the mirror, I saw myself as beautiful, because there was a lot of days when I didn't. And, I saw myself as strong, not just physically, but emotionally, in control of my emotions. When people would do things to upset me, I would actually start to think about how I wanted to respond first, instead of just immediately jumping to conclusions and getting fired up and being and saying, I'm telling myself I am respected. I've been in a lot of shitty relationships, in shitty situations. And I kept just feeling like nobody respects me, like everybody treats me like shit. But now that I'm affirming that, my dating life is a lot different. It's actually non-existent right now, but that's a side note. And, I am loved. For a long time, I felt like I was unlovable. And I'm a Christian, and I go to church and I read the Bible, and I know that Jesus loves me, but it wasn't something that I was affirming to myself every day. And now I do. And now I truly feel that way. And then practicing gratitude. I mean, there is shit that can happen in your life every single day, and I have bad days. I have days that I don't want to get out of bed, but, practicing gratitude these past 6 months, writing down every day 3 things that I feel grateful for. I almost can't be in a bad mood if someone forces me to be, because no matter what, I'm finding 3 things every single day to be grateful for. And it could be something as simple as my dog, coffee, sunshine. Or it could be deep. If I'm going through something, it could be the ability to overcome, the compassion that my friends express to me when I call them and vent them. It could be something deeper than that. But every single day, there are at least 3 things to be positive about and to feel grateful for. And that has truly changed my life.
That's awesome. So speaking of, how do you pull yourself out of a rut? Is it with kind of those affirmations? Or what if you are kind of in an emotionally kind of tough spot and you're really stressed out? How do you handle it?
That's a tough one. I've been without an episode like that for the last 6-7 months since I've been doing these affirmations, and this gratitude.
Really, that's a huge testament to what they're doing for you.
Yeah, no, I swear by them and I tell everybody about them. But, before I started to really practice that and make it something in my non-negotiables for my daily routine, depression runs in my family, and there would be days that I would wake up and everything was gray. I would physically see gray, it was kind of scary, honestly. And it would it would be, sometimes it would only be the day, sometimes it would be 2 days, sometimes it would be 2 weeks. One time it was 2 months, and that when it was 2 months, I got really, really scared. I was terrified that I was going to be stuck like this forever. And that is when I finally took a deep breath and said, you know what? I need to see a therapist. I need help. And I reached out to a behavior therapist. I'm not on antidepressants or anything like that. Personally, I don't like to take them. They work for some people. It's not my cup of tea. But beforehand, what I would force myself to go for a run, to go work out, to, even before, I mean, I've kind of been on this meal plan, grocery, anal like shopping list for about 5 years now, not always staying consistent with it, but those things would make me happy. Having the balance of meal prepping and working out, like those things would just make me feel good. So whenever I would be in these ruts of depression and scared of not knowing if I would ever feel okay again, or even to see color again, because my life just felt so bland looking through this lens that I was looking through, I would just force myself to do those positive things that make me happy. I would hang out with my friends, that made me feel good and that were positive. I didn't want to be around negative people. I would call my grandma, and talk to her about what I was going through, and just kind of vent to her. And honestly, with those ruts, it was something that I had to force myself to get out of bed, because I could have chosen just stay in bed, but I had to get out of bed. And from just routinely making myself do the things that make me feel good, it was like one day I would just wake up and everything was colorful again. And so that's, long story short, it's whenever you get in those ruts, I think the biggest tip is to just don't stop. Keep going. Like, yeah, you can be sad, but you can still work out. You can be sad, but you can still, eat your calorie count for the day, like do something that's going to make you feel good. Go watch a movie. Allow yourself to feel emotions, but don't dwell on them.
Yeah, for me, what I do, first of all, this is kind of hard, especially Nashville in the winter. It's a rainy season. And so for the past couple of months, it has just been constantly raining. And I love the idea of the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I'd love to move there. And then I have 3 months of rain in Nashville, and I'm like, I could never move there. So I try to get outside though. If I'm feeling in a rut, just going for like a super short walk. And sometimes if you're in a really deep rut and you're really not feeling well, if you're really going through something, going for a 15-minute walk may just take it out of you. But I would recommend doing something like that that's pretty gentle, like doing that or doing some yoga. Something pretty mellow I find really helps me. And I find that personally for myself, venting does not help, because I find that venting typically ends up having me just kind of spiral downwards. And so if I feel like I just want to talk it out, I've been trying to be better about this, and just talk a little bit less about it, kind of set a timer, be like, okay, after this, we're done. We're not talking about this anymore. Have a friend that will hold me accountable to that. And also listen when they're like, Ellen, you're being crazy, to be like, okay, you know what? You're right. Despite you naturally in a situation like that, when someone tells you you're wrong, or at least me, I want to kind of defend myself and be like, well, this is annoying and this was extra hard. And they're like, okay. And you just start making excuses, but not making excuses and listening, truly listening to the people around you. But for me, like I was saying earlier, I'm pretty extroverted. And so I don't do super well. If I'm in a rut, the worst thing that I can do is be by myself for more than like a day. I need just a little bit of time, even if it's just an hour in the day with a friend of mine, or on like FaceTiming my sister and her kids or something like that. I find that just really helps me get out of a rut personally, and that's something that I still struggle with. But I do find too that like really keeping myself grounded and keeping my routines in check and all of that stuff really helps me. But yeah, those are probably my two biggest things, is like not venting about it, but surrounding myself with people that really care about me. and just getting outside.
So that's going to kind of segue into this next question. Do you have a favorite personal routine?
100% my morning routine. So what I do is I do the kind of standard stuff where, get out of bed, have my phone across the room charging. That is my biggest tip. That actually gets me out of bed so I don't hit snooze a million times. But I do that and I chug a glass of water. I always have a glass of water next to my bed. And then I will go and I'll read my Bible and I will do, this sounds really silly, but I always do a Sudoku puzzle or do a little bit of Spanish. I do both of those at least once a day. It depends on what I'm feeling that morning, if I want to do one in the morning and one at night or do both in the morning. But I try to be up a few hours before I need to be at work so that I can really get my body in a good place and get my mind and my soul in a good place. So it always includes reading my Bible with a cup of tea and just taking the morning pretty slowly.
So like I have my daily non-negotiables, but they don't always happen at the same time every single day. I'm in the entertainment world, so I'm always kind of, whether there's an event I have to go to or if I have a gig or something like that. So, my days kind of shift around a little bit. But my skincare routine is my favorite routine. I had the worst acne in high school. It was so bad. Just don't have pictures of me from like a couple of years just because it was so bad. And I'm on. I use Rodent and Fields. That's not a plug. It's just a fact. I do sell it, but it's just a fact. I love their skincare. I hardly ever wear makeup anymore, because my skin I feel very confident with it, but it just makes me feel good to wash my face. You kind of, in the morning, it's a nice refresher, kind of wakes you up a little bit, depending on what you use. It has a nice fragrance that like kind of gets you going. I'm always in front of a computer screen, so I have dark circles under my eyes unless I, consistently use an eye cream. So I have that I do. And then at night, it's just like you kind of just wash away everything from the day, whether it was, food or stress or the, climate outside. It's just nice to kind of clear that up. So I love to wash my face.
So other than your like passion for wellness, what do you like to do in your free time, Dara?
Oh, in the little free time that I do have, I'm a very, just like I'm anal about my meal preps and my grocery list, I'm anal about my calendar. So I have, oh, it's so true. I know what I'm doing pretty much every weekend for the next 6 months. It's kind of gross. But,
we're trying to make plans and she's like, I'm free in, October.
Yeah, I can pencil you in the fall. And it's like, no. That's why my dating life struggles so much, because I stay so busy, but I'm always making moves. And like, I make plans with my family. I make plans with my friends. I'm an adventurer, so I love to have different things going on. And I do have those weekends where I literally do nothing. And that's what I want to do on those weekends. It's, not make plans with a Bumble date, so, but yeah, in my free time, I love to read. I was a huge reader when I was a kid, and and through high school and in college, it kind of got away from me a little bit because I had to read so much to study in college. So the last thing I wanted to do in my free time was read a book. But I read 2 books almost every single day. Just, my personal development book pretty much every day, but my fiction book I read maybe, 3 or 4 times a week. I like to kind of escape. I've always wanted to write a book myself. So, you can't write a book unless you know how to read a book, or what styles authors you like. But yeah, I just always like, I like to read. I'll play music, whether it's playing it from my phone or playing it, just picking up my guitar and writing music or whatever. I like to hang out with my friends. I just like to be surrounded by good people and good energy. So I would say those are definitely things that I fill my free time with. What about you? What do you do in your free time?
So in my free time, I like to have like game nights with my friends. I feel like there's a big board game wave coming back out where they're getting cool again, and I am all about it. I don't care if it's still nerdy. I love it because I've never been much of a bar person. I don't understand the concept of just having all of these sweaty, smelly humans around you, spending 10 times as much as necessary for a drink, and you can't even hear what they're saying because it's so loud. And it's so dark that you can't see anybody anyway, and everybody's hitting on each other, and it's just, oh, not my thing, personally. God bless y'all who like the bars, not my thing. So yeah, I like having game nights with my friends and having people over and like cooking with friends. I am, as I mentioned earlier, super cheap, and so I will always find a way to make a fun night out of nothing. Everyone's like, really? We're going over to your house again? And I'm like, it's gonna be a blast. And then we end up having a great time.
Hey, one of the nights that I was up in Nashville visiting Ellen, we literally played Heads Up for probably like 2 hours. Oh, it was so funny. That is my favorite game to play. Like, it is so funny. It's so, because it's just, yeah, it's interesting. Oh, Bella has an input.
Bella is Dara's little pup. So, Dara, next question. What is your biggest pet peeve?
When people don't use their blinkers when they drive.
This is a Southern thing that I didn't realize people did until I moved to Tennessee. So, when there's like a left turn lane in the middle of the road, there's plenty, like there's an entire lane there for you to get into so that you can turn left. In Tennessee, people will literally just turn left from whatever the heck lane that they're already in. They could be in the right lane, for goodness sake, and they will turn left and just stop, expect everyone else to stop, and slowly make their way across like 4 lanes of traffic instead of getting into the turn lane that exists for that exact purpose, and it drives me bonkers.
Yeah. No, I just hate when people don't use their freaking blinker. Like just the other day, I was bringing my brother to school and I accidentally turned down, I just autopiloted and went like a different way to go somewhere else. And I was trying to get out of this plaza and it was like a pretty busy street. And this one car like was driving by and yeah, I would have had space to go and turn, but he didn't put his blinker on and he ended up turning. And I was like, oh my God, because I missed an opportunity to go and had to wait at this stop sign for another 15 minutes. Probably not that much. I might be exaggerating. Probably not that long. But the point is, like I was like, I have my 14-year-old, my 13-year-old brother in the car with me. And I'm like, you inconsiderate F. Like, I'm just like screaming at this guy who can't hear me in my car. But it's just so, it's just so inconsiderate. And like, it's like, I have no problem letting people over, like if I'm driving on the highway or whatever, no problem with it at all. But it's when people just kind of come on over, I'm like, oh, if I would have known, I wouldn't be trying to increase my speed in the fast lane as you decide to come over. It just makes me, oh my God. No, dude, I don't even care. I'll put my blinker on to switch lanes. I'll put my blinker on when no one is around. Like I will there could be no one else on the street but me. And I'll be like, beep, 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 turn left. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why I beeped. That's not the sound a clicker makes, but I will literally like be in my car when no one's around and turn my blinker on just because it's just like, I don't know. I hate when people don't, that's there for a reason. Like they would put a blinker in a car so that you could signal to every other person driving on the road, hey, this is what I'm going to do next in my 2-ton vehicle. So yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve.
So what do you splurge on and what are you cheap about?
So that's actually really funny because my splurge has totally like a whole 180. I used to splurge on alcohol. I would go out all the time. I was in college. I probably went out like 4 or 5 times a week. It was bad. And then when I graduated from college and I was doing the adult thing, I was buying 2, 3 bottles of wine a week, and then going out on top of that. So I definitely used to splurge on alcohol, but there has been a huge paradigm shift. I now splurge on nutrition supplements and my proteins and energizers and workout recoveries and various vitamins that I take and my CBD lotions and oils and things like that. So I definitely have a switch on that, but I prefer to, I don't want to just have a protein that was like $12 from the grocery store. I want something that has, the dietary enzymes that I need and, the vitamins and the minerals and the probiotics and prebiotics and everything else. Like, I don't want to just have, a basic protein. I want the good shit. So I definitely splurge on like nutritional items. What about you, Ellen? What do you?
Your CrossFit membership as well.
Oh yeah, no, I love it.
And multiple other body parts a month.
Dude, I'm telling you, on my like physical, on my like wellness, like my nutrition and my physical, I don't even want to. When I add it all up, it's a ridiculous number. And it's not always the same number monthly, because some things can last you, longer than a month depending on how you're using them. But, but it's important to me, and it just, and it's something that I don't go out anymore. So I have really changed that. I mean, I do go out, but occasionally, but I have traded in excessively partying and drinking and going out to eat and going out to drink and stuff like that for my gym memberships and my supplements and my protein powders and everything's like and things like that. So I've really just made that shift, and I would so much rather it this way. I don't hurt as much, believe it or not. Even though I do CrossFit, I'm definitely not as in much pain as I was before when I was drinking all the time.
Yeah. Alcohol will really wear your body.
Ruins your body. It's fun. I love wine. Don't get me wrong. I'll never live a life where, I won't drink wine occasionally, but doing it all the time, it just deteriorates you from the inside out. What about you, Ellen? What do you splurge on?
What do I splurge on? Pretty much nothing. But I'm cheap with most things. I would say, as far as splurging, I would say like healthy food. I will be more likely to be comfortable spending a little bit more on groceries I don't do this all the time, but if I can afford it that month, then I'll put in a couple extra dollars to get organic. Or if I'm getting meat, I make sure I get the higher quality meat. So that's the kind of stuff that I splurge on, because it's so much better to have stuff that's free of the antibiotics and all the it's cage free and grass fed, stuff like that. So I do that when I can. And I would say that I splurge on travel. If I'm on a trip, I will make it something special and memorable, but I also don't go overboard. Like, I will probably have 1 or 2 things that are, a real experience. I'll go out to eat a few times, but then try to make sure that I'm cooking as well to kind of balance it out. So I've never been a huge splurge type person. I'm pretty much cheap with everything. Like, for the last year or so, I've been going to a local yoga place that they have free classes on Wednesdays and Sunday nights. And so I'll go to those classes twice a week. And that's what I've been doing for a long time, is like my fitness. I'll do that and, go do little workouts either from at home or go on walks or go for a hike. So I've just recently started going to the gym again, but that's probably like, I'm even cheap about that kind of stuff. But I guess the things that this isn't really a splurge. This is just what one of my monetary weaknesses. I've never been a huge shopper for clothes, but when it comes to like home goods and like nutrition type of like tasty foods at like Home Goods, TJ Maxx and Home Goods are my 2 favorite stores in all the land. I'm just saying. Like trying a new facial oil that I'm going to put on at night before bed and just feel amazing and wake up with a glow.
Yeah, but you're still not even splurging on it because it's like discounted to like $7.99.
$4.
Yeah. For sure.
Splurge in my eyes is like, oh man, I'm going to get it for full price for $6.99.
Yeah. No, but it's good. You're definitely good on the finances, on like not spending money. I've gotten a lot better at it, but there's like certain things that like I said, my nutrition shit is just like, that's important to me. I'm pretty cheap overall though, in all honesty. I try to have a coupon for almost anything that I do, whether it's, I literally will look at the Money Pages magazine that comes in and see like what coupons for different restaurants that might be in there that maybe I haven't experienced before. Or my clothes too. Like when middle school and high school, the thing was to go to Hollister and American Eagle and stuff like that. I went straight to the back and looked at that clearance rack. Yeah. And even today, Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, those are the stores I shop at. I also shop on some of those like online boutiques where you literally spend $60 and get like 5 things, it's, I'm not really, I don't care about who I'm wearing, I just care that I'm wearing clothes and that they're stylish.
I'm the same way. Something I've tried to be more intentional about is being more aware of the ethics behind the companies that are making what I'm buying. So for example, for Christmas, I was talking to my mom and I was like, I really want a pair of like sustainable shoes that aren't just like tennis shoes. I want ones that I can wear to work, that are going to be cute and functional and comfy and that I will want to wear all the time. And she was like, okay, well, you could get 2 pairs of these, whatever brand, this name brand, or you could get 1 pair of these sustainable ones. Wouldn't you rather get like 2? And I was like, actually, no, I'd rather do it the more ethical route and get ones that are, the plastic is recycled and they're woven. I have Allbirds and, they're the tree kind. So those ones have the wool insole, the recycled plastic on the outside, and then recycled trees as the weave. And they are the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. Highly recommend.
They're quite literally tree hugger shoes.
Yeah, they're amazing. Oh, they're the best. So that is something I'll kind of splurge on. But it's, those things I can't afford very often, they tend to have to be a gift or something that I've really, really planned for. And to be honest, I'm not as good about planning for that stuff. I end up just thrifting a lot of stuff in order to be a little bit more sustainable.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's another thing I nerd out about in my free time too, is sustainability for sure.
All right. Well, this leads us to our last question. Ellen, what is your favorite band / genre of music?
So I listen to a little bit of everything. I would say that my favorite genre is super loose. I kind of want to say like alternative, which is a very broad term, but, like some of my favorite artists are, my favorite current artist is John Bellion. He's amazing. And I can listen to all of his stuff and never get tired of him. I think Ed Sheeran is an incredible songwriter too. And then as far as, the classics, like Billy Joel is what I was really raised on. And so those are probably a few of my favorites for sure.
Nice.
What about you?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I love reggae music. I love country music. I love EDM. I love pop. I play a lot of 90s pop when I'm playing gigs. But I actually, according to Spotify, am in the top 1% of Miranda Lambert's biggest fans. So, I would have to. Yeah, I would have to say,
a big deal.
yeah, it's whatever. I'm like the 1%, like top 1%. It's fine. No, but I love her. I've loved her since, she's come out with music. I just love her like badass, like I'm a boss bitch kind of attitude, and I don't take shit from anybody. And that's just kind of how I've always been growing up. So I've always really related to her. But my mom had me very young, in the early 90s. So, I was growing up listening to Alanis Morissette, The Cranberries, Jewel. I remember she gave me those albums when I was like maybe 8 to 9 years old. Sugar Ray, Bob Marley, just kind of all over the place. And then growing up, like Britney's very Floridian. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Very Floridian taste in music.
Yeah, well, Floridian, born and raised. What are you gonna do? But yeah, and I also, like that's what I probably listen to on like a regular basis. But I love jazz music, like New Orleans jazz style, symphony jazz style, like blues jazz. I love brass and the like attitude that it brings to music. I don't know. I'm a big like jazz fan. I don't know much about it, but I really do love listening to it and playing it. And it's like one of those things that I'll play it while I'm cooking or I'm cleaning, and it's just smooth. It just makes you feel good. And I'm all about what makes you feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, enough about us. Stay tuned for next week's episode with Steve and Cody from Music City Boxing. We had so much fun talking with these guys, and we can't wait for you guys to hear what it's all about. It was a really fun one to record.
It was so much fun. Loved it. Well, we hope you guys liked this episode, getting to know Ellen and I a little bit more. So when you listen to the rest of the season, you kind of understand our quirkiness and our personalities a little bit more. But if you did, please leave us a review. Hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends and family. In the meantime, follow us on social media at Beyond Broke and Hungry, pretty much across all platforms. And we'll catch you next Tuesday.